Hi, my name's Mike Coleman. I'm a architect and lead accredited professional. And I run a business called SmartHaus Incorporated, which is a design-build company that specializes in high-performance homes, high-energy retrofits, deep energy retrofits, as well as all kinds of custom residential and commercial projects. We sort of developed the idea of SmartHaus after looking at a number of kit-built homes, Sears homes, and was wondering if there was a better way to build in the high-performance home market. So we decided to develop some sort of standardized plans and details that we could then reproduce in different types of projects, different locations, that would all have a common theme of high performance. So what we've done is we've gone through and literally examined every piece of a home, from the foundation to the foundation insulation, to the framing methods, to the different types of insulation available, heating and cooling systems, lighting, appliances, exterior and interior building materials, windows, and with the use of a bunch of different energy modeling programs and cost-benefit evaluations, we've come up with a formula that we feel will give our clients the most bang for their buck, and also in the most sustainable way that's available today within reason. What we found in going through this process is there's a lot of information out there. Some of it's good, some of it isn't so good. A lot of it is being provided by suppliers and manufacturers. There's, everybody claims that their product is green and, is the next best thing, the next greatest thing. So you got to really sift through that, and there's a bunch of good resources out there that we found to help people do that, sort of consumer reports for green projects. We've utilized a lot of those resources as well. So we've just started building a new home in Northbrook, Illinois, for Aaron and Jenny Stash, and they came to me and asked me if I'd be interested in working with them to build a lead home. And I was certainly thrilled at the opportunity, as well as their vision for their home and their commitment to building sustainably. So we were a very good match right off the bat. And they had a great lot, and frankly, in high-performance building analysis, a lot of it starts with the piece of property, making sure you've got orientation that allows you to take advantage of climatic and environmental factors. The movement of the sun is very important with high-performance homes. If you can find a house in our climate, which is in the Chicagoland area, where you've got a long east-west axis and a very nice southern exposure, you have a lot of opportunities to take advantage of passive solar criteria, passive solar functions, as well as looking at active systems if that's something that you want to consider. But for the most part, high-performance homes do start with orientation and the building of a quality envelope. And by envelope, I'm talking about the walls, the roof, the insulation, the windows, the elements that separate the interior environment from the exterior environment. And we found that it pays to get to certain levels of performance with those components above and beyond what the minimum requirements are for building in today's marketplace with the current building codes. So in this case, we've settled on about an R65 for the roof, an R35 for the walls. The foundation is about an R24 by the time we're done with it, and it's a combination of various insulating products. We've decided to use 2x8 walls for this home with wet blown cellulose insulation, which is a very benign product that is made from a lot of recycled materials, and we feel it does have a very good low carbon footprint. We are using a little bit of closed cell foam in this home for part of the exterior envelope as well, sparingly. It is expensive, and it does contain some blowing agents that can add to some greenhouse gas effects. So we try and avoid that except where necessary, and it's certainly great for sealing things like rim joists and things like that. The other concept that we felt strongly about was prefabrication. So this particular home is being prefabricated off-site in panels, trusses, and delivered to site with very, very little material waste factor. As a matter of fact, the frame and shell are already been built, and we have not had to use any sort of a dumpster to collect garbage and or construction debris and remove it from site. It's just a very resource efficient way of building. Beyond that, we start to look at finishes and systems, and one of the unique things we're doing on this particular home is we've got a conditioned energy recovery ventilation system, which has been developed by a number of scientist engineers down at the University of Illinois, and it's a system that really has a brain. And when we started talking about this home initially, I wanted to do something that would take advantage of outdoor conditions for natural ventilation as much as possible, yet the clients are highly allergic to a lot of the outdoor environmental factors. So how do we combine that? Well, we found this system, and it will be one of the first ones installed in the Chicagoland area, that actually monitors air quality as well as indoor and outdoor air conditions, and brings in fresh air when necessary to mix with indoor air to control levels of CO2, of VOCs, temperature, humidity, and also filtration levels. So what that means is when the conditions are right, we can bring in fresh air to do a lot of the heating and cooling load. We can exhaust air when necessary when the air starts to become stale, and it's not on a timer, it's on a as-needed basis. And we're combining that with mini split heat pumps, which are electrically powered heating and air conditioning units. A minimal amount of duct work has to be run for this system, which because the envelope is so energy efficient, it allows us to save some costs on the heating and cooling side, which balances out some of the maybe additional costs that you'd see typically from added insulation. So when you look at the big picture, these homes, these high-performance homes, really don't cost any more to build than a typical home built at today's energy efficiency standards, but they offer much higher indoor air quality, much lower yearly utility bills, and actually the home that we've designed has been set up to be a net zero energy home, which means it will produce as much energy as it consumes once the photovoltaic array is added to the south-facing roof, which it's been designed to handle and pre-wired for all that. That may happen right away. We're still looking at that possibility. So one question people ask often is, does it cost more to build a high-performance home or a LEED certified home? But really, the homes do not cost more to build. They just need to be planned a little bit differently, and those features need to be considered up front versus trying to plug them in at a later date. A good example is in the structural framing system. We've spaced everything at 24 inches on center. Conventional homes, the wall studs are at 16 inches on center, but since we went to deeper studs, which are more expensive, we spaced them out further apart. So instead of having 3 studs for every 4 feet, you're going to have 2 studs for every 4 feet. And there are savings there. So there's trade-offs all the way along the line, as I mentioned before, from an insulation standpoint. You cut down on your heating and cooling loads by adding more insulation, so there's trade-offs there. So the answer is no, it really doesn't have to cost more to build a high-performance home. It just needs to be planned a little bit differently, and certainly the site orientation and taking advantage of the natural resources, the movement of the sun, predominant winds, and utilizing that as much as possible in the long run will save clients money from an operating and maintenance standpoint as well. Where's the housing industry going in the future? My feeling is that the marketplace, and this is what I'm seeing in my world here, things are getting smaller and more efficient, and I do see a correlation between the housing industry and the automobile market as well. And that's where the movement is headed. I don't see that changing. I do see things becoming smaller and more efficient. That is natural. That will reduce debt in the economy in many different ways, but primarily by reducing our independence, our need to consume energy. And by doing that, you can put emphasis in other areas of the marketplace and of the economy. Certainly when you're looking at a home and building a home, your energy costs over the life of a home can be significant, as well as maintenance factors. So you want to try and figure out how you can do this and build a home in a way that is going to be somewhat isolated from increasing energy costs. And high performance homes is a great way to do that, because you're really fixing your energy costs into the future. As we get into the net zero energy type homes, you can get to the point where you sell power back to the utility grids. And in Illinois we have a net metering program, which means however much power you produce and sell back through the power lines to your local provider, they need to pay you the retail price for that power. So you can actually be your own little miniature power plant and produce excess energy if you feel like doing that, and make a profit at it, or at least pay for your investment faster. So these are all things that are changing. If you go and look at what's going on in Europe, for example, most of the homes being built there are starting to use these high performance heating and cooling systems, the mini split heating and cooling air conditioning systems. And a lot of countries throughout the world are mandating higher efficiency standards than we are in this country. So we would like to feel like we're out ahead of the curve a little bit and anticipating where the market is going to end up going. And we also feel, and this has been confirmed through a number of studies, published studies, that the value of high performance homes will increase at a faster rate than those that were built to minimum standards. And again, you can look at the automobile marketplace as a perfect correlation for that. The large gas guzzling cars of the past are not nearly as desirable today as the higher efficiency, high performance vehicles are. So we see that as being the trend for housing in the future as well. Why should people care about this? Why build sustainably? Well, I mean, I do feel we have a responsibility to future generations to hand them a planet that is at least in as good a shape as we inherited it. And there's no doubt in my mind that man's activities on the planet have had an impact on the quality of the environment, air, water, and by building green or sustainably, we're respecting those values. We're trying to build and place plumbing products that use as little water as possible to accomplish the same job. Same thing with heating and cooling systems and building envelopes. What this means is that the resources that are available today hopefully will be available tomorrow to our children and our grandchildren, and that is a legacy that we'd like to pass on, both as professionals, as members of society, as human beings, and certainly as homeowners. So if we can do our part here, then why not? It doesn't have to cost any more. It just needs to be planned maybe a little bit differently, and those things need to be thought about up front. Certainly it is a lifestyle consciousness, I think, and more people feel like that is important to them, and they would like to embrace this sort of a lifestyle. So if that's your case, then certainly consider building a high-performance home and looking into certification programs like LEED and Energy Star and Passive House and some of the other programs that are out there that are available to guarantee that you're getting what your builder tells you or your architect tells you that you are getting. Because the benefit of those various programs is there's a third-party oversight, and you can't just say that you're building green and sustainably. You actually have to document that. It needs to be verified and certified, and that is the difference. And those are the homes that I think will be worth more in the future. Having that designation attached to them, it's going to add value as well. Finally, I would just say, look around, look at the world around us. You're part of that. We're all part of the ecosystem here, and you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. And I don't know who first said that, but I really do agree with that. When it comes down to building environmentally sustainable projects, you have to have the mindset that this is something that's important, and every decision you make should have that as a guiding factor. Certainly it's not the only factor involved in making decisions, but it should be one of the factors. And if you follow those principles, then we honestly feel that within the next 20 to 30 years, all buildings can be built to be net zero energy buildings, and the impact on the environment and culture and society and the economy will all be positive. We've got a tremendous opportunity to have a major impact on the built environment, and by understanding the principles and following those guiding principles, we can make the world a better place. And that's what my hope is, and I know others feel the same way as well. So thank you.